Nothing in this podcast is intended as investment advice, and the people in this podcast may hold positions in the stocks they talk about. Do not buy any investment based solely on a tip or recommendation. Please do your own research.
Hello and welcome to the Saturday Brunch. Today we're joined by Robin Brundle, Chairman of Technology Minerals. Welcome back, Robin. It's good to have you on again.
Yes, nice to be with you.
Good. So since we last spoke, there's been some significant news regarding the proposed acquisition to acquire the remaining issued share capital of Recyclus Group Limited in the form of a share issuance. Do you want to talk us through the rationale behind this proposed move?
Yeah, sure. I mean, in the first instance, it is binding on Recyclus Group to sell. So it's whilst it's proposed and still awaiting, shareholder approval from Technology Minerals, it's binding on Recyclus. And we're looking at the wider group. And as you know, we've had a medium and long-term approach to our business plan, sort of citing 5 years for the various Recyclus plants here in the UK and other strategies that we've discussed previously on your show. So bringing the wider group together now is the correct thing to do. When we first set off, there was a narrative that needed to separate for investors between extractive sector and the recycling sector. The world has now got it that you can't recycle enough raw material to meet demands. Therefore, there has to be a blend of extraction and also recycling. So the timing is right now. That's the important thing, as well as to get the timing right. The valuations for both companies, effectively, as a generalisation, to do a deal, both sides have to feel that they've got value for money. And in this instance, Recyclus Group shareholders have said that they believe that the current market valuation for the assets of Technology Minerals is undervalued, and therefore they've come in with this offer, a fixed offer at 4.3p for the shares, rather than saying, let's rely on share price, and especially when it dropped recently, would have been unpalatable, I think, to certainly the TM1 board and the shareholders. So by fixing it at the 4.3p, it's making a statement that TM1 is undervalued in the minds of the Recyclus shareholders, and it's also a starting point of good value for money for the Recyclus shareholders, because they're taking a longer term view and allowing the business plan to evolve to deliver what has been said in the revenue streams for these early to market battery opportunities, battery recycling opportunities that Recyclus has. On the other hand, TM1 has, when you actually look at what it's achieved with the money that it set off with from listing last year, if you actually think that it now will have 100% ownership of Recyclus Group, which has early to market lithium ion with the IP for plant, the IP for the process. And the process has been stated by Warwick University as being world leading. And it has a whole plethora of international companies in discussions around the technology and how it can work in gigafactories and OEMs. It has a lead acid battery plant sitting in Birmingham that again is automating only 12 of these plants, we believe, around the world, but it's automating lead acid recycling. And the other aspect of that is that, with the brains that we have on board, that we're maintaining on board in the Recyclus company, we have put a patent application in to take an existing desulfurization process 4 stages further, we believe, than currently registered by Cambridge University. And so we have all of that on Recyclus. We've got the plants built. They're not laboratory size. They are full-scale plants that are industrialized. And on TM1, we also have the lithium-ion battery box that we've announced previously as well. And we have a whole range of logistics companies, OEM car companies, and a Formula One company that we're talking to around trying to meet their particular size and requirements for those boxes. So we think that's quite bright. And of course, then if you look at the mining assets, with the exploration side of TM1, We've had the 10% buy-in in Idaho, and there's another 20% for Idaho as an option going forwards. That's got another circa 12 months to run for that option to be activated. So when you actually look at the money we've had, the costs of listing were not insignificant, pretty eye-watering, again, as we've discussed before. So when you actually look at the money that we had and what we have achieved in less than 12 months, effectively, we think it's pretty good value for money. And if you think that TM1 got its 49% stake in Recyclus Group without paying specifically for those shares, but it did agree to fund the startup costs of Recyclus. And it has a structured loan down to Recyclus that is, as we were looking at the accounts, is around 4.6 million. But for that 4.6 million, the valuation that we have for Recyclus Group, an external valuation for it, pre-revenue, it's given for its 4.6 million. It's given around 34 million pounds worth of value. Yeah. So, I don't think there are too many other companies that for 4.6 in 11 months will have delivered a strategy that can take 4.6 million to 34 million. And of course, now it has the opportunity to buy 100% of Recyclus Group. And the relevance of that also is that all of the cash that Recyclus Group generates once it's up and running stays in TM1 and the wider.
And I guess it's a vote of confidence that they're also taking issuance of shares as payment as well. That shows that they have a belief in the company.
Absolutely, and to the shareholder they do, and we believe. And the shareholders of Recyclus believe that this is the right space at the right time that's being frustrated by bureaucracy and red tape here in the UK. And of course, we're looking at ways to see whether we can get up and running even faster by doing it slightly different, maybe in a nearby different country. And all of these good thoughts are going on to try and stop this frustration. And we're putting a lot of energy into the political arena to try and help that as well. And again, we've previously talked about that on your show. But all of these things, we are absolutely flat out in the background, pushing all of these things all of the time. And we're as mindful as anybody, let me tell you, that we're late in generating cash. And as much as it will frustrate our shareholders, we get it because we're living it with you. And, we're doing the 16, 18-hour days in the background here to try and get the business to be able to be unleashed and actually do what it says on the tin. So, we've still got huge passion. We absolutely believe in the model. I'd love to be able to share some more information with you around some of the discussions we've got going on with international corporations, and they themselves are not fast at moving. So, it's not a fast-paced environment talking to corporations, as many of your listeners will know and probably experienced during their careers too. But there's a lot of good work going on in the background, and we remain even more enthusiastic that combined, we can all go on and, we should all prosper once we can get these frustrations out of the way. And we haven't got sightline. We haven't got a timeline yet from the EA. It literally could be something that drops in our inboxes while we're talking to you to anywhere between 3 to 6 months. We just don't know.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing because obviously all of the valuations that we've discussed with regard to Recyclus were done pre-revenue, if you like. So in other words, this was what Recyclus was worth as a concept and with the 2 sites that it had. And that valuation was £70 million. So we're looking now that with the extended amount of shares in Tech Minerals, that at the current market cap, you're going to have a market cap of around £40 million, which basically is discounting the value of Recyclus now by £30 million, plus all of the other assets that you hold in terms of the mining stock. So, I mean, you are intrinsically undervalued. This is a transaction that has happened. The Recyclus people were happy to take 4.3 pence a share, and we're currently trading at 1.9p a share. So that actually just does not make any sense in the market. It's a bit crazy.
Of course, it's a proposal that goes to our shareholders with full board support to say, we really do believe, with all of the knowledge that we all have and the work that we've done, we all believe that this is absolutely the right thing to do at the right time. And it will be a surprise and a disappointment if there's a different opinion on that.
Yeah, I mean, the reality of the situation's got to be that even the current shareholders, some of them obviously bought higher than this 4.3, but it can't be a significant amount. And at the same time, all those people buying any stock now have got to be seeing that they've got a very significant discount to the assets that you hold. I mean, I suggest that your assets, once this Recyclus deal complete, if it does complete, has got to be close to £100 million at the very least before revenue. And obviously, there's a lot of frustration involved with the fact that these plants haven't started to produce revenue, but they will. It is a matter of time, I presume.
Kevin, you're absolutely on the money. And yes, you're right. And all I would say to you is that to confirm again that the valuations were done pre-revenue and done by people that are experienced in the green sector. And their valuations have been done at the lower ends of scales. So where there are multipliers with a 5-point range, we've put the multipliers in at the bottom of those ranges to be prudent effectively in those valuations. But if you want to look at what else is happening in the market, just go and look at the valuations that two or three of these other recyclers around the world, like your Neo Metals and people like that have actually got for their recycling capability, and just look at their market cap values, and you'll see that they are the sorts of targets that we as a board are trying to achieve. And we have a strategy to deliver, and we have to deliver against it. Of course we do. But the various climates around the world at the moment, and the economic and the political arenas that we're all facing with, is for calm heads and needs to be navigated. And thankfully, being a relatively small team, we believe working in an agile way to try and navigate our way through the current challenges that are put our way. We're not proud of the fact that we're just off of where we were when we launched in November last year onto the LSE. The only comfort we have is that the global indicator is that most listed companies are around 20% down year on year, and we're sitting there at 10, so roughly 10%. So, two wrongs don't make a right, and we're not proud of that, but we're trying hard to make sure that we absolutely minimize the impact,
Absolutely. You also obviously have this full mining stock. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, the mining stock. We've spoken about it before, but we've got the 6 key opportunities and in ethical exploration and mining effectively that are being pushed up the value curve. I've described it previously as in my words, as a sausage machine. So the whole business model around this is that we've got a small team looking at new opportunities at the front of the sausage machine. And then as we progress the various assets up the value curve, we then go on to do joint ventures, perhaps with people, or we get buy-ins such as we have with Idaho, and a strategic pathway of upping the on the value curve to then do joint ventures and generate capital out of the back end effectively. And that model is still the same today. And we've got 2 or 3 opportunities to keep the front end of the sausage machine going, because we do want to keep the flow going. And we've got a lot of interest in what we're doing because our research and our findings are specifically targeted, as you know, to battery metals, to help support the growth of these gigafactories. And, there are now over 340 odd gigafactories reported to being built in the, around the world. Frankly, I'll be amazed if anywhere near half of that actually get up and running, because there just won't be the raw material source to feed them. But certainly that's our business model. And we are, as you've seen from various RNSs, and there's more to come, we have got some movement on pushing certain of the assets, again, up the value chain by finding materials and evidencing materials that add even better viability to the prospects of going and extracting. But of course, to be clear, it's not our intention to find the money to extract. We pass on to a much bigger player that does the heavy lift in terms of the digging and also in terms of the cash required. So that's where we are on the mining side, yeah.
Very good. And it is our intention, I think I was speaking with Phil earlier today, that maybe we will get Alex on to talk us through all of the different mining things.
Yeah, please. That would be good. Or Leicester. Or get Leicester.
Okay.
Yeah,
because we have had news recently there about the island situation and very nice grades of lithium that is in that whole island thing. So I think that's a whole separate deal. But what I would say is it's almost like the green agenda has been thrown out, the baby with the bathwater. Okay. It's like because of the Russian crisis, Russian-Ukraine crisis, and everybody scrambling for short-term solutions, that for now we just ignore the green scenario. But that isn't possible, because the type of things that you're doing is going to be imperative in the years ahead. And, I think Teck Minerals having 100% of Recyclus and being in control of that situation, which effectively you weren't before with 49%, is a real game changer.
Investors can take it seriously now. Nobody wants to invest in a company that's only got part ownership or half ownership of another company. And you have to have exactly 100% of those revenues coming in for sure.
Yeah, Phil, Kevin, you're absolutely right. What I would just push back on, Kevin, is that governments around the world are forgetting the green space. Living it on the inside, let me please reassure you that they're not. You will have seen that work that we've done with the British government has encouraged and supported their mineral strategy that was released at the end, I believe, of September, August, September time. We've been in consultation with the government, and there's likely to be a paper around battery metals for the UK that we've been participating in. There are, you look at America this week have come out with a multi-billion investment into their battery metals, mining and battery manufacturing, battery recycling. And they've stated and openly stated 2 days ago about a multi-billion investment and where it's gone, how it's being used, and they're getting on with it. And we would expect, and I know there's been a lot of distraction here in the UK politically, but we would expect by the end of the year that our British government may come out with something similar to what we're seeing in the States. So we're pushing for them to cornerstone revisiting mining here in the UK, because we have a lot of raw materials in old mines and in potentially new mines that could create employment, that could create these ethical mining, that can create the raw materials for these gigafactories that are considering the UK as a base. I personally am pushing very hard politically on that front, and we've said before on this program when we were speculating, and I've said that the eco-structure for the whole of the automotive sector rests on this. And I think the news last Saturday that BMW Mini are now taking the electric Mini production to China can only be because they don't believe that they can get the raw material and the commodities and the components here in the UK to build electric vehicles. And that is dreadfully worrying, because that's thousands and thousands of jobs and value chain and money, revenue, taxation coming into the UK that's in serious danger here. So it has a very wide implication politically and on the UK economy. And I can't see, and I really hope that the British government doesn't allow that to continue to slide.
Yeah, the less said about the British government right now, I think the better, though, to be honest with you.
I shall leave you to muse on that. That's for sure.
We shall hide our heads in shame at this moment in time.
Indeed.
Okay, all good.
Yeah. Robin Brundle, Chairman of Technology Minerals, thanks very much indeed.
Thank you, guys.
This podcast was brought to you by Roast PR Limited. If you would like to appear on a future episode of The Sunday Roast, please email admin@thesundayroast.net.